It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
All right, DJ and PK. PK, this is your true genius. People don't understand. They don't know. How do you do it? You listen to the people. You talk to your neighbors. You hear what Ute fan, Cougar fan, Jazz fan, RSL fan, Aggie fan, Mammoth fan, whatever they have to say. You mull it all over. And then using that newspaper training, you think, what should go above the fold on the front page? Does this headline go all the way across the top, old school style? So you, instead of putting up 2 or 3 questions, because there are multiple things going on in our community at all times on the sports scene, because the sports scene just keeps expanding and growing, you just focused on one because your heart, your soul spoke to you and told you. AJ Dybantsa is the story. You posted, what would you trade to get AJ Dybantsa? Now, 40 or 50 responses in these days on social media where stuff like sports, I think the algorithms depress the responses and don't really show our questions. If you put something up there political, it'd probably, get 20,000 responses. I am impressed that you defeated the algorithm with your knowledge of the local sports fan base because we don't have 50 replies. We don't have 75 or 100. We have 150, 179 replies. This is what people want to know. AJ Dybantsa, how do you get him? What is the price? And there are a lot of people who will back up the truck. But I was surprised reading these, and we're certainly not going to read 179 comments. But I was surprised how many people in here had some version of what Jared said. If they want the number 2 pick and some junk, I'd listen. But otherwise, forget about it. If AJ falls to number 2, great, take him and be overjoyed. If not, take DP and realize you got a guy who's going to be great too. And he might better fit your current needs anyway. Sure, AJ might be the better player 10 years from now, but just because he has Utah ties, that's no guarantee he'll stay here anyway. So Jared's like, whoa. Don't let the Wizards hold you up. You're going to get a good player either way. Be patient. And there is a lot of that in here. Tons of that. Ryan, stay at number 2. Draft Peterson or AJ, whoever Washington doesn't take. Ryan's all about being patient. Give them nothing, he says. You surprised by the amount of patience in your people?
I suppose to a degree, but you need to figure out some things. Who do you believe is not just a better player in a year or two, but who has, if there is one, there may not be, but, the old higher ceiling they talk about, if you think one is significantly higher than the other, and who's to say that they don't necessarily trade up to get Darren Peterson for that matter? We've been talking about AJ because of his local connection. We understand that. They've got a lot of stuff that they need to figure out in terms of potential and fit and character. And the list is, 10 deep, basically. You can injury factors, the health and all that stuff. There's so much, and a lot of it you can't really totally figure it out. You're sort of surmising there. So with that in mind, it makes it a little more difficult. But this is the most intriguing situation that the Jazz have faced relative to the draft. Since obviously Darren Williams or Chris Paul, and so they've got to go in a direction that maximizes it. I think they can't lose, so that's comforting. That I don't think they'll make a bad pick. They won't take an Exum or a Cantor and then it doesn't work for various reasons. I don't think that's going to happen. You never know, but I don't think so. So there's something there. But it's not just that. You want to be able to get the very best player you can get. And, watching Darren Peterson, he's obviously a talent. The one thing, DJ, that's got me a little nervous, I found out his middle name is Nathan. Doesn't that scare you a little bit?
You don't like the name Nathan? No great athletes named Nathan?
No, just put out his initials then, knowing that his middle name is Nathan.
I was slow on that. Thank you, PK. DNP.
Right. I mean, that's been an issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if he went out and got one of those commercial trucker driving licenses, they call him a CD, he could be DNP CD.
Right.
That'd be really bad. You wouldn't want that.
And that would be, the C wouldn't be coaches, it'd be creatine.
I did not play creatine decision. All right.
Okay, now in all fairness, a lot of times you guys ask me.
Text that to some NBA executives you know. See if you get a laughing emoji back.
You guys often ask me, "You've been sitting on that?" And most of the time I'll say, "No, I just."
But this time you were?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thought of it yesterday.
All right, all of you listening, take that to work. DNP, drop that. Everyone's talking about it. We don't get 179 responses on a Facebook page unless everybody's talking about AJ Dybantsa. So take that to work. When you open up the meeting today, open it up with that because that's what everybody's talking about. The weather was great last night, PK, and I had a little extra energy. I went for a walk in the neighborhood just to burn off some steam. And, man, I thought of you because there were so many – I thought of you and your wife. There were so many dog walkers out. I bet I saw 40 dogs on my walk, all on leashes. All out with anywhere from 1 to 5 people. In one case, a whole family was walking the other way.
Sure.
And so I saw Sutterman, and it was getting pretty close to dark, and most people were going in. But there was another couple going out for the walk, and the husband was standing in the driveway right by the sidewalk where I was walking, and the wife was at the door grabbing something and locking the door, whatever. He's waiting. He looked at me. He looked at her. He looked back at me, and he said very quietly as I walked by, "Who would you draft?" I said, I'd draft AJ. That's just me. I want the bigger player. Yeah, I want more rebounds. I want the bigger player. I want a guy who sticks his arm out and deflects more passes. Yeah, give me that. Give me that all day long. They're already working on a jumbo-sized team. Let's go.
Yeah, and this is the dominant story. My wife's golf league started up or continued yesterday, and she got paired with a lady whose adult sons are listeners and all, and so she asked my wife about, is this something that he wants to talk about, and is he glad it happened? And my wife kind of looked at her like, duh.
I know.
Yeah, this is a dream come true for storytellers, which what we are, and we don't have to manufacture topics. It's right in front of us now, and it's dominant. This is so critical. And Darren Peterson comes out yesterday and says that he views himself as a point guard. I'm wondering, okay, why did you say that? Maybe there's no ulterior motive, and that's just who you view yourself as. Mm-hmm. Although that position, obviously the definition of that position of coming down, looking over your shoulder on the fast break, hop, stop, bounce pass for a layup, that might as well be 200 years ago. With that in mind, it's changed so dramatically. So what does that mean? And did he say that because of a situation? Well, maybe he doesn't want to go to Washington because they got ball chucking, ball hogging Trae Young, and little guys don't really win in this league. And he's really the ultimate little guy, and he can make all-star teams and put up numbers and make tons of money, but do you win? And maybe he's looking at it, hey, I'd rather go to Utah because look at Dylan Harper. He's in a winning situation. He's going to play on a team that's got a legitimate chance to the final because they scored a couple of times in the lottery before he got there, right? And so then they score a third time. And I'm not saying the Jazz are going to be playing for the title next year by any stretch, but the fact is they are built to win at a pretty good level next year, and then see, because he comes in as a rookie. Well, Wembanyama's already been in the league, Castle's already been in the league, and so who's to say in 3 or 4 years when these younger guys are even more mature, and Jaren Jackson still isn't 30, and Lauri Markkanen is only 31, that at that point they're not a serious contender. And so maybe his people are saying, yeah, tell him that you want to be a point guard. And does Washington, do we really want Darren Peterson? We're not of the situation where we can bring in a guy who's really good, but have him sit. Whoever we bring in needs to play and play big time minutes because we have sucked for so long and we got so many holes in our roster. So I'm wondering, was there some political motivation in making that statement? I have no idea, but it's something to consider. And the Angels and all those people for the Jazz, they'll be able to figure that stuff out to a much clearer definition of what the guy is as they see and talk to him.
I'm 100% on board with you with what is the reason. Now, maybe it was as simple as he was asked a direct question and he gave a direct answer. There might not be anything to it. And at the same time, we've been around sports long enough, there definitely could be something to it. And both things could be true. It could be what he feels in his heart, and it could be super political because he knows exactly how that answer is going to land. And it could be the truth. So there's no reason it couldn't be both. I think,
it could be.
I think to the point about the way the position has evolved, it is evolved in multiple ways for multiple reasons. One way it's involved is obviously the person who brings the ball up court is way more likely to shoot it without passing it now than they were back in the day. You were talking earlier this week, or maybe it was, I think it was earlier this week, about I was never that big on James Harden. I mean, I liked him. He won the MVP, and I don't begrudge him that. But I always thought in the playoffs, he's easier to defend because you have 2 weeks to get ready, and the ball's in his hands so much. It goes back to what we were saying about the Celtics and three-point shots. You can have a strength, play to that strength, enjoy that strength, but you've got to have options. You can't go through potentially 28 playoff games needing 16 wins and only win one way. You've just got to have options. There has to be. And if the ball, if Harden gets that high a percentage, and if he shoots it without passing it, and the other guys are just standing still, you become too easy to defend. And the point guard who does that, I just think it's a major issue. I think one way we're seeing now is with all these point forwards out there. That was a cute term 25 years ago. Now it's just true on so many levels. You can have multiple guys who start the offense. You can label one the point guard. As long as you don't make your team too small, what do I care if guard A starts 60% of the possessions and guard B starts 40? Two-guard fronts used to be a thing. You grew up going to Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yeah.
They won titles with a two-guard front. There were some specific offenses that had a one-guard front because of the way they spaced the floor, and that's where the whole point guard thing started to evolve. But there was a time they didn't even use the 1 and 2 as designations. You're just a guard. Jerry West is the logo. He played his whole career as a two-guard front. You start 40% of the plays. You start 60. You start 80. I think that's totally fluid. I just think the key is don't make your team too small. If you put a 6-foot point guard out there with a 6'3" point guard and you say you're not really guards, either one of you can start it, I'm worried about defending at the other end of the floor. Somebody's going to guard a bigger guy and it's going to be a problem. You're going to get picked on. So this goes for all the guards in this draft, and we don't care so much about picks 5, 6, 7, 8, but I'm intrigued by them. And you like the kid out of, was it Illinois?
Illinois, Walker,
yeah. He's got size. So he could play and split with some 6'2" point guard like Trey, and as long as Trey's willing to give him the ball and not start 95% of the possessions when he's on the court. And that's the other thing. How many minutes you're going to play these guys? How many possessions you start in a game is limited somewhat by the fact of how many minutes are you going to play. You can't start the possession if you're sitting over there on the bench. So if you can get a big point guard and pair him with it and say, okay, we got a couple guys who can play the point guard spot, and maybe you're starting 30% of the actions, maybe you're starting 60%. Yeah, David Locke used to have a thing during the Quinn Snyder era about where they were running a pick and roll on one side of the floor into a pick and roll on the other side. Well, you need two guys who can run it at that point. So I think you got it. That goes back to the point you made at the top of the segment. There's a lot for Austin Ainge and Danny Ainge and Jay-Z and the coaches and the whole staff to figure out here. And one thing is, where do they think the game's evolving? You're making a pick for 7, 10, 12 years. What's true today may not be true. People may alter the way they play. It could be a different deal. How much can you foresee the future? That's a big ask, but at the same time, if you're drafting for the next 10 years, you got to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
All right,
it makes it so intriguing.
It really is. There's so many things to consider. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. More of your responses. I just hit one common response, but there were some other really good takes in here. People are thinking about this. People want AJ Dybantsa, but they are also different price points to hit on before you swing a deal with the Wizards and feel good about it. All right, DJ and PK, we'll get to that next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. qualifies for the Copper Rock PGA Championship. You know the deal. We're signing a golfer in the PGA Championship this week. One of our listeners, 25 of our listeners get the top 25 players in the world, and a 26th listener will get the field, and then we sit back, we watch the tournament, and see who wins. The winner will receive a Copper Rock logo golf bag and a $100 gas gift card. It's brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play. Still got some big names to give away, Yak? I know you can't tell us.
It's filled up pretty good so far, but there's still names out there.
Okay. Well, call right now. You might get a big name. Top 25 golfers in the world. Who will it be? We'll find out shortly. Call right now, and Brian Taylor's here at 8:30. Real Golf Radio. We'll talk PGA Championship with him. The question of the morning, which is the question of the week, which is really the question of the next 6 weeks. What would you trade to get AJ Dybantsa? Throw an elbow into Austin's ribs and move him over. I'm driving this bus, Austin. Here's what we're doing.
What am I, Vic Wenderbiama?
Yeah, right.
Throwing elbows?
No. Because I said in the ribs. If you're Victor, you're going right for the neck. Hit him right in the throat.
Right, but I'm short. I can't hit those guys in the neck.
Hence, you can't be Victor. You have to be tall and hit guys in the neck. You're just a random NBA player hitting somebody in the ribs. That happens every night in every game. All right, so here's the deal. What would you give up? Some people are just saying nothing. There was a ton of sarcasm. Matt, I'd say the number 2 pick and a bag of chips. So see, he's up in the ante right there. Depending on the chips, could be pretty good. Sensabaugh, the number 2 pick and a handful of magic beans. That's Dan right there. Hector, I'd love AJ, but is it worth messing with a core you have? Peterson's a great pick at number 2. And not that it really matters, but head-to-head, Peterson got the better of AJ in the game they played. Yeah, I wouldn't want to judge anything on one game. You're projecting what these guys are going to do over 10 years. I just saw a thing that, because all the people are posting videos from the combine and the drills and all that, which is fun to watch. That's fine. I watched some of it. But you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. Somebody, and I don't know if this is true, I didn't look, but apparently Konkanipple was super mediocre in that three-point shooting drill.
8 of 23.
You saw it too. That is unguarded. Unguarded, wide open. He went 8 of 23. And meanwhile, there's an argument that he's the best shooter in the league. There's other guys who are pretty good snipers too. So it depends on the quality of shot you're getting and how many you're taking, but he's really good. Aaron would offer up a dozen Cougar Tails and a caffeine-free Coke. Nice. Thank you. Thank you for
throw in some caffeine.
Don't give up anything. Draft Peterson and then get AJ as an unrestricted free agent in a few years.
Yeah, but that's more than a few years. That's a lot of years.
He says 4, but see, at that point, he's restricted. He's not unrestricted at 4. Right. That's restricted. If you're waiting unrestricted, you're
doubling that.
Oh, yeah. Donovan Mitchell was traded at 6 years, I think. But he was signed for a couple more. So his unrestricted free agency was still, I'd have to go back and add up all the contracts. It was like
I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah, it was like 8 or 9 years.
My patience is very, very thin now, very short. We just gone through 4 years of losing. No, I want to win to the highest level immediately. I'm beyond development, knowing that you have a rookie and he's going to have to develop. But I like the development that the Spurs are doing with Harper. He's not playing big minutes. But he's playing enough to where he's developing. And they'll see what they need to do as far as when his time comes and what do they do with Fox and Castle and the other guys that they got there. I want development's fine, but I want to win. We've been 4 years for a franchise that went to the playoffs 20 years in a row, whatever it was. That's too much here. Now it's time to win. And so I'm not about what could possibly happen. I'm surprised that there's not as many people, maybe there are, you just haven't got to them, that say, yeah, let's go for this, man. You got a chance to get somebody who wants to be here and wants to flourish here. And it doesn't look like it's going to take that much. And we can just throw out some deals that I think Washington clearly would be interested in.
Nathan wants to trade Lowry Markkanen, a number 2 pick, and a future first rounder. Lowry's great, but he's too old for the current core. Number 2 is just needed, a future first, because we're going to be really good soon enough, so that won't be a lot to give up. The problem with that deal is before you even get to the talent is you got to make the money work. So now who are you taking back?
Yeah, I think they can make the money work, but I would consider trading Lowry Martin, but not Lowry Markkanen.
Lowry Martin. DJ and PK. Coming up, there are some more suggestions here. Some people are echoing you. Other people do have other ideas. We'll get to them. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.